Hi, guys. I'm back. I've been gone for a little while because I've been in the middle of a move. I somehow have cobbled together this little makeshift studio. Don't know what else to do with this microphone. So it's like huge in the camera. So my apologies. But for those of you who've ever gone through moves, you know that it's like, it's awful. It's just awful. So I have Wi Fi. It's been a little dodgy here and there, trying to get hooked up. And I haven't really been online that much. A little bit tweeting, but haven't really kept up with things on a regular basis like I usually do, pretty much all day. So when I kind of logged on back on to do a little bit of a deeper dive into current events, imagine my surprise, or not surprise, maybe my delight, that we're seeing some conservatives and Fox pushing back a little bit on Trump on his tariffs. Now, these are people who sold their souls, literally sold out the country, sold out their viewers and their fans uh, to propagandize Trump to get him in office. They lied for him. They pushed all the Putin propaganda. They did all the things. So, Maria Bartiromo was one of the worst offenders, right? But ultimately, these people feel betrayed because even they knew what Trump was, but they thought, oh, we're all in on this. We're getting the ratings, blah, blah, blah. And this is what we have to do. This is what our bosses want us to do. You know, we don't have to be journalists. We just have to be MAGA, that sort of thing. So when I look at, kind of scrolling through some things and I see that, okay, when it comes to economic policy and the issues of financial issues, at some point, these people realize that Trump took advantage of them. He's doing things that they didn't expect, that they didn't endorse. And it's not that they're stupid enough to think that there's loyalty coming from Trump on this stuff. So they have, they want to maintain some sort of professional respect, I guess, at least among peers. So I thought it was really interesting to see Maria Bartiromo kind of pushing back and having to tell the truth about the impact of the tariffs because she knows that she can't just lie. Now, she can propagandize for Trump, and she's done plenty of that, and stretch the truth. But when it comes to some of these issues where her entire livelihood and her persona and her career and her trustworthiness and her legitimacy and her credibility and everything is at stake, even she has to start reporting at least some modicum of truth. And then she had on they call him conservative economist Bill Stein or Ben Stein on Fox. Okay, now you know him; he's the actor from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's he's a meme in and of himself. He was an economist, I believe, in the Nixon White House. So he's a conservative in that regard, but I don't think of Ben as some kind of a social conservative or a pro-Putin kind of guy. He's strictly um, an economist, and he's always leaned conservative. I know Ben a little bit, or I used to know Ben a lot when I was on Fox News a lot. And well, first, let me tell you what he says. He says on Fox News, he says, I hate to say this on Fox, and I hope I'll be allowed to leave here alive, but I don't think there is any way we can cut spending enough to make a meaningful difference. Stein told the three shocked co hosts, we're going to have to raise taxes on very rich people, people with incomes of, say, 2-3 million a year and up, and then slowly move it down. Now, for Ben Stein to go on Fox and say something like that, and I was reading this actually from Raw Story Report, and the three shocked co-hosts. So what are they going to do? Tell him he's nuts? What's their solution? The math just doesn't math for them, what Trump is saying. So what they were shocked is not that he was saying something that they disagreed with. They were shocked that he was saying something that was obvious and true. So Ben Stein, who again, he's not some conservative activist. He's not a Steve Bannon guy. I don't think he's not MAGA in that regard. But he goes on Fox. I think he's been a contributor in the past. I don't know if he is anymore. And he told the obvious truth. And Democrats have been telling the obvious truth about this too. We must raise taxes on the very rich. I mean, we just have to. if we're going to make all of this work. And Ben Stein and Maria Bartiromo and all the rest of them know that we can fix Social Security, make it solvent, and actually do better by people, give more higher yearly annual raises and increases to Social Security if we just raised the cap so that the rich, wealthy pay the same percentage as we do. You don't cap it and then take a higher percentage of the income of lower income people or middle income people, and then let the rich, very rich, off the hook. Um, and so that's why it's really funny when Republicans try to refer to Social Security as an entitlement. No, we pay into it. We pay into it. We're supposed to get it back. If you started doing it more in a percentage and wealthier people were paying into it at a higher rate, maybe eventually they could kind of squint to say it's kind of an entitlement if they're paying more, but they aren't paying into it. Okay. They let themselves off the hook. So to say that the whole system is going to crash, that it's not going to be solvent, that it's going to run out of money, that's only because the rich do not pay the same percentage into Social Security as the rest of us do. Lift that cap, problem solved. The same goes for the uber wealthy in terms of just paying their fair share of taxes. I mean, the handful of billionaires, oligarchs that now tend to run things for us, if they paid their fair share the way we did, we would be able to fund all of our priorities. We would have education. We would have a strong military. We would have infrastructure. We would have health care. We would have all of it. We would have everything that we need. And the reason we don't is because of the very wealthy not paying their fair share. And they're the ones that now control things. So they'd rather keep us poor and sick and paying their way. Remember, even Elon Musk gets our money, our tax. He's a welfare queen. He's a welfare queen. And so that's why I find it interesting when people who we put them in the conservative column if they are conservative economists with a conservative policy bent. But I think when push comes to shove, if the math ain't math, then you can't lie about math because math don't lie. And so Ben Stein, he, at least in this instance, is telling the truth. But the fact that he had to preface this by saying, I hope I come out of here alive, that should give you an idea what the mood and the tone is and the culture is at Fox News. When your longtime guest and contributor, Ben Stein, publicly says on the air that he's literally afraid for his physical well-being at Fox if he doesn't toe the MAGA line and the Putin line. I find that to be very interesting. And I've told you a little bit about Fox. I mean, I was on Fox for many, many years. And it started getting a little weird years before Trump, actually. It was one thing to have a bias if you thought that that point of view was not being equally represented or adequately represented in our mainstream media. But then something started happening there. Part of it was these, for lack of a better word, these bimbos that were going on the air as political experts, and they had no political experience, but they'd wear the short skirts and the hair extensions and the low cut shirts and all that kind of stuff. And poof, they have a career. All of a sudden, they are political strategists on par with those of us who have actually spent decades, working on Capitol Hill and running campaigns or working for governors or as policy experts, people that I know hundreds of these types of people who should be on the air and aren't true experts because they started going for this sort of sex pot look and handing them the talking points. And it did spread over to CNN as well. As per published reports, it was, CNN told Kayleigh McEnany that if she was more pro-Trump, I guess she said something one time that sounded like a defense of Trump and couldn't find any actual Republican strategists to defend Trump. So they told her if she did more of that, she'd get more airtime. She did. And she got more airtime. She got a contract. And that put her on the Trump campaign and led her to be White House press secretary as her first political job. That's why Trump has to hire people like that, because true professionals are going to at least have some sense of shame. and they're not going to do it. So Trump has to get these phonies. And yeah, I'm calling them bimbos. They are. So that's the story with Fox. Tell you about my Ben Stein story. I was this years ago. I was flying out to L.A. to be on, I think, Politically Incorrect, or maybe it was Dennis Miller's old show. And we're at Dallas Airport, and Ben Stein is there. We kind of knew each other from Fox, so we started hanging out, talking. Well, the flights were delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. We ended up spending a whole day together, hanging out in the clubs for the frequent flyers. He belonged, I didn't. We had a little bite to eat, and just talked and talked and talked, and he was absolutely delightful. And then we talked on the airplane. And literally, it was one of those days where the flight kept getting delayed, so we literally spent 8 hours together, and got to be friends. And as a person, he's delightful. But that's why I say I think that we have a better chance of getting truth from people who are conservatives, but only in like maybe one policy area. It's not this blanket MAGA loyalty cult thing. And he clearly doesn't care if he's never invited on Fox again, or he was seen to be worried. He's obviously joking, but just the fact that he said, I hope I can get out of here alive. Um, I hope more follow his lead on this. I think that if you have true experts on, and again, they might tend to be conservative in a policy area, but what Trump and the networks hopefully are finding out is that doesn't mean they're going to toe the line on every single issue. Some of them might be relieved of their duties if they're expected to go on TV and lie. So kudos to Ben on this one. And hope sometime Maria Bartiromo starts truth bombing us a little bit when she has to, when it's her professional reputation on the line. And that's where, that might be some things that help us, because they don't want to be lying to their viewers when they know their viewers are hurting under the Trump economy. It may take a while for it all to kick in, but ultimately, I think it will. So let's keep an eye on that.